Since 1996, the number of people using the internet has climbed from 40 million people to about 5 billion, or 60% of the world's population. There's internet access in the city slums of India, the rice terraces of Vietnam, and the favelas of Brazil.
That's a massive shift in 27 years, or my entire lifetime.
Venture capitalist Paul Graham recently asked on Twitter, what if 36 million people use now that eventually 5 billion will? Here are my predictions for 5 technologies that could overtake the world by 2050, possibly changing the way we live just as profoundly as the internet did, and solving some of our most vexing problems.
Which almost always happens through creativity and innovation, not through regulation or government spending.
They have cute faces, goosebumps on their skin, fine vein patterns, and lines on their palms. In this video, they're hard to distinguish from humans. They can communicate, gesticulate, and repeat your movements. These are the most advanced humanoid robots in China from EX Robotics, and today, I will tell you how they are built and what they can do. Let's go.
4.4 billion people live in big cities worldwide, myself included, and getting around isn't easy or convenient.
The pandemic made the budgetary problems of urban transit systems even worse, bringing steep declines in ridership. Meanwhile, the federal government is providing massive new subsidies for urban rail systems that barely anyone used pre-COVID, like a proposed $2.5 billion streetcar in Atlanta. Rail was cutting-edge technology in the 19th century. I predict that by 2050, the standard in urban mobility will be electric mopeds and pedal-assisted bikes, which is to say individualized forms of street transit powered by apps. The US electric scooter market is expected to double in size by 2030, and we're actually late adopters. Throughout much of Asia, especially India and China, mopeds have already become commonplace, competing with cars, rickshaws, and the lowly bicycle in providing point-to-point mobility, which is where rail falls short. Some US cities have sought to ban e-scooter companies such as Bird, Lime, and Revel. But like Uber, these services are proving so popular that commuters won't let them be outlawed. Since Jeff Bezos unveiled plans for delivery drones a decade ago, progress has been slow. Today, there are only a few thousand delivery robots currently operating in the US.
But that's about to change. In December, Prime Air successfully completed commercial deliveries in College Station, Texas, and Lockford, California.
On the other side of the world, Meituan and Alibaba have just started rolling out this service to their customers as well. In the US, delivery drones have been hindered by the FAA approval process, and it's the same story in China.
But I predict that won't be true much longer in terms of the overwhelming benefits this service brings.
In terms of convenience for customers, and in reducing the traffic problems caused by delivery trucks clogging up our streets. By 2050, I'm confident that the urban skyline will be buzzing with what will look like a swarm of carrier pigeons, bearing books, spatulas, bottles of vinegar, or whatever else you might order on Amazon. Not to mention hearts and kidneys racing towards hospitals. 2022 was a breakthrough year for generative AI, the form of artificial intelligence that uses human prompts to generate unique text and images. From DALL-E to Lensa, people are using image generators mostly to screw around on the internet. But we're entering the age of sophisticated text AI, which will revolutionize everything from customer service to poetry. ChatGPT requires a prompt to generate large volumes of fairly sophisticated text, answering follow-up questions, admitting its mistakes, challenging incorrect premises, and rejecting inappropriate requests, according to its developer, OpenAI.
Described as a second brain, ChatGPT will free up some people to work different jobs, as technology always does. But it'll allow other people to do the same work more productively. Why spend hours researching the technologies described in this video when you could just let ChatGPT generate a personalized report?
ChatGPT could write the first draft of a professor's syllabus, suggest storylines for a TV show, craft portions of a journalist's article, or create website copy describing a product for sale. Language AI will change how we do our jobs in much the same way search did. When factory farming first began in the 1920s, it was designed to minimize costs while maximizing production. Animal welfare be damned. But now that scientists can grow meat in labs, there's less reason to inflict suffering on the 50 billion chickens and 300 million cows we raise and kill for food each year.
I personally find plant-based substitutes like the Impossible Burger and Beyond Burger disgusting.
But when we can actually scale the process of growing meat in labs, that'll be a game changer. That's when the era of factory farming will come to an end, rendering the USDA mostly useless while reducing the industry's environmental footprint.
We'll finally be able to enjoy foie gras without having to think about the ducks we force-fed to fatten their livers.
I bet there will always be some demand for actual meat, just as there are upscale buildings with elevator operators, and you can still take a horse and carriage ride in Central Park. But meat lovers in general will make more ethical food choices as it gets easier, cheaper, and more delicious to do so. When Fitbit trackers debuted in 2009, they allowed people for the first time to track their movement with a simple black wristband. Of course, the concept of the pedometer is an old one. There was actually a big step-counting craze in 1960s Japan. But the Fitbit ushered in the modern-day trend of using wearables to learn about your own individual health data, whether it be step counting, sleep tracking, or continuous glucose monitoring.
By 2050, I predict that wearables loaded with sensors will eliminate the already dubious annual physical and send most of our primary care doctors the way of switchboard operators.
Before the advent of continuous glucose monitoring, people with diabetes had to prick their fingers throughout the day to measure their blood sugar. Now, these tiny electrode devices under their skin can do so continuously.
I think by 2050, even non-diabetics will use these tools to measure their insulin responses, getting data about how their bodies interact with the things they put in them. A business idea that's already in the works.
Some 540 million people live with diabetes worldwide, a number that's expected to grow to almost 800 million by 2045. The global prevalence of obesity tripled between 1975 and 2016. On one level, that's a free market success story. Fewer people are dying of starvation than ever before. They're now experiencing the consequences of gluttony and abundance. But over the next 27 years, we should expect better drugs and devices that will help people manage their weight and health, detecting problems earlier and more accurately than ever before. When French artists envisioned the year 2000 in the year 1900, they were too conservative with their predictions, unable to imagine a world that had done away with clunky propellers, electrical wiring, and bulky machinery in favor of more streamlined, more efficient tools for housework, transportation, and food production. Everyone also seemed to think that blimps would be a really big deal. Nobody anticipated the massive shifts that would come because of exponential increases in computing power especially. Perhaps these predictions are also limited by our imagination.
The details are hard to know, but I'm confident that by 2050, technological creativity will have made mundane tasks obsolete, freed us from the constraints of biology, and collapsed distance and time in ways that make the constraints of the physical world increasingly irrelevant.
Since Honda's demonstration of Asimo in 2000, humanoid robots have ceased to be science fiction and have moved into the realm of research and commercial development. Humanoid robots today are being developed for home and office, logistics, rescue work, science popularization, and other scenarios. EX Robots is positioning its developments as intelligent bionic humanoid robots for exhibitions, museums, hotels, restaurants, hospitals, and other public places. In the future, the developers hope that the robots will find applications in the care and education of young children. The robots can also control a smart home system, which means the developers plan to sell them to private owners as well. Would you like to have one of these robots in your house? Let us know below. The company has the EX Future Museum of Science and Technology in Delaine. The EX Robots R&D Center is also located there, as well as a production line for making robots. To get here, it's like going to the future or a set of the Wild West world. Here they create and assemble robots with beautiful faces and dozens of servos that allow the machine to reproduce complex human emotions and facial expressions. And they can make your own robot replica. Thanks to 3D scanning, digital modeling, and 3D printing, the robot can have exactly the same face as a real person. The faces are made of medical-grade silicone refined by the company's specialist. The elastic skin is realistic not only in appearance, but also as it feels. It differs from a real human only in temperature. And this is a real masterpiece of Chinese developers, as the skin of robotics is a big problem, and if it's too hard, it will make facial expressions unnaturally, and if it's too soft, it will stretch quickly. EX Robots has the coolest robot skin we've seen so far, and it can mimic goosebumps, palm lines, and vein patterns that are drawn during the process of painting and processing the robot's faces, hands, and bodies. It is true that most robots don't have skin covering their entire bodies. The combination of human-like faces and hands with a mechanical metal body looks much more spectacular. The robot assembly shop has a large ring on which the robot limbs can be fixed. The company blog let us know that it gives a full view of the robot body and allows engineers to do high-precision installation of mechanical components. But I think they're being a little deceptive here. The robot's most likely assembled on a standard production line. And here, except for checking the installation and maybe putting the finishing touches on. But basically, it still looks great, don't you think? The company doesn't reveal all the secrets of robot design. It's a trade secret. EX Robots says that the mechanical components of the robots are patented. This is not surprising, as their design and manufacture require a separate approach in terms of appearance, size, shape, weight, and functionality. There's a total of 68 movable joints in the body of each company's robot, and as many as 140 degrees of freedom. Engineers have put a lot of parts into a very small body, and they make them work properly. The movements of the robot must be smooth and natural, otherwise the impression of the robot will be rather unpleasant. According to developers, their robots are the lightest humanoid robots anywhere in the world, and they can design robots with individual bodies, not just head and arms. The body, the silicone skin, and the voice are created individually for each robot, and it can be customized. The company also develops a robotic system to control the robot's joint movements and facial expressions. EX Robots got into humanoid robotics back in 2016, and today the company has 115 employees, 30 of which are directly involved in robot development. The robots can communicate, but the company says nothing about natural speech technology. Most likely, the robots act according to their preset programs when working in guide mode, and probably function like a chatbot. To verify this, I'm gonna have to go sooner or later in person to China and check it out. What is known and demonstrated in the video is that the robots can be controlled. Through an app on a smartphone or tablet, you can make the robot copy its own head movements and facial expressions. To control the hands, you have to wear a special glove. Robots can also track the user's eyes to maintain eye contact, very important for human perception of the robot. And by the way, engineers from Italy recently proved that if a robot makes eye contact and can change facial expressions, people tend to endow it with intelligence, even if it's not there in the first place. The robot poses are not that realistic yet, although the company's working hard on it. And apparently as a full body movement workout, it's developing robotic bar dancers, which should be soon a commercial product. In general, I find it interesting to watch the development of all humanoid robots. They're created not only for entertainment, but also to do useful work in a human environment. And while Atlas from Boston Dynamics will most likely, according to its creators, remain a research project, humanoid robots from EX Robots or the Russian company Promobot are already working in public places. By the way, we talked in detail about humanoid robot Promobot on the channel, as well as the latest news and developments in Boston Dynamics. The links are here in the video description, so subscribe to our channel and our Instagram to watch the videos all about the coolest robots in the world. I will be back.